Material made out of three main components: shader, textures, and mapping. In this lesson as well, we will focus on vectors, which are mapping. It's true that UV is the most accurate way to texture mapping, but it can be time-consuming, especially when it comes to certain objects. There are other, more flexible ways to approach this. Let's start with the fact that we can manipulate the mapping directly from the shader graph. For example, we have three potted plants with the same material. Their material is arranged according to the three main components: shader, textures, and mapping. At the beginning of the chain, we have a node called texture coordinate. This node has no input because it's always the first in the chain, just as the material output node has no output because it's always the last in the chain. The texture coordinate contains a variety of vector mappings. For example, the UV we already know. What if we would like to enlarge the logo of the three plants a bit? They may have the same material, but each has its own UVs. If we add a node called mapping, which is in the vector category, between the UV input and the texture, we can add manipulation to anyone who has the current material. The mapping is very similar to the manipulation we did to the islands in the UV editor, moving, rotating, and resizing. Only this time, we are doing the manipulation from the node editor, and it affects everyone who shares the same material. We have texture on the material of the leaves of the plant, but they lack mapping. Will we create UV for the leaves? Their mesh, let's say, isn't the most convenient one. No need for UVs. Yes, you heard right. We have other vectors for mapping besides the UV. We will use texture coordinate, which is in the input category. This time, we will pick the generate mapping. The generate will give us mapping of the object from the three directions of the world. We will connect it to the texture vector input and we will get a mapping. Now we will add the mapping node so that we can scale down the texture. Already it looks fine, but there are strange scratches down here. If we switch the texture from flat mode to box, we can take advantage of the generate feature to map the texture from all three directions together. We even have the ability here to blur the connections between the different directions. It will work smoothest when our texture is seamless, and it connects like tiles from every direction we rotate it. It's not perfect, especially in the rounded areas, but it gets the job done, especially if it's something in the background or secondary details that we add to our material. Procedural textures, like the noise that we already know, uses generate as default mapping. Therefore, they do not require UVs. Let's quickly go over more mapping options in the texture coordinate. We have the object, which is similar to generate, only the mapping happens from the location of the origin. The camera option will give us a mapping from the direction of the camera. We will return the texture to flat. It can be a quick solution for static images or for creating a cute aesthetic for animation. The window is similar to camera, but is influenced by the viewport window. If you move closer or further away from the object, it will affect the size of the mapping, and even resizing the viewport window will also change the size of the mapping. The normal can be used, for example, to make snow or dust based on the direction the object surface is facing. We will use generate a lot for textures we call imperfections, whose purpose is to add scratches, fingerprints, limescale, rust, and more, in order to achieve realism. Let's add fingerprint texture to this spot. Let's connect to generate, add mapping, move to box, and connect to roughness. In order to achieve accuracy and make sure that they are indeed greasy and disgusting, we will also add the color ramp. There are a big variety of texture in the folder. Please create exotic plants with them and try different mapping methods and see what you manage to get out of them. That's it. You have all the puzzle pieces in the materials: shader, texture, and mapping. And you also know how to manipulate each one of them. Any material you would like to create will be a combination and mix of those elements. See you in the next lesson.